What's up, everybody? Welcome to Gaming Without Parole. Sitting across from me in place of Mike Zeller this week is Dezrah.
Hello. And sitting across from me in the place of Bryan Paul is Bryan Paul.
I'm still right here. Yep, you can't get rid of me no matter how hard you try. People have tried.
Yes.
Yes.
Multiple times at work.
Yeah, I've got bullet wounds. Anyway.
Not a joke.
No.
Not a joke.
No, very, I'm always in pain. So we decided, in the absence of Mike Zeller this week, to talk about something that there's no way in hell that he'd want to be a part of the conversation for.
There's no way in hell anyone rational would want to be a part of this conversation.
I agree with you. I agree with you. What did we decide to talk about this week?
We decided to talk about the Tiger Game.com. Now, you actually have to think about it because you want to see the Game.com, but no, it is the Game.com.
It's spelled Game.com.
Yeah,
yep. And
quite frankly, Mike, you owe me one. This is I just can't believe my first appearance officially on any of these is with this hunk of junk.
Yeah, ultimately it is a pile of shit.
Yeah.
Yep. Only 20 games.
Spoiler for the end of the review. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I think the entire review, quote-unquote review, is going to be littered with just unabashed hatred of the machine.
Yeah.
Only 20 games ever came out for it.
That's 20 too many.
That is 20 too many. There's a list of canceled games that seem even more baffling than the actual existing games.
Wow.
Yeah. But let's talk about first impressions. I handed one of these systems off to you a few days ago, and you get to spend some time with it.
Yeah.
What were your first impressions?
So right off the bat, actually, it's a weird thing, but the back isn't that bad. It actually has this interesting kind of texture to it, and you're looking at it, it's like, okay, I can see where they were going. Maybe there's some hope to this.
It's got some heft to it.
It's got some weight.
Yeah.
Actually, what threw me is it has if we can do this to camera, actually has a stylus and a touchscreen, which was pretty groundbreaking for the time. It was in 98?
Definitely. 97?
97.
The original one launched in 1997. It took 4 AA batteries.
Okay.
It had no backlit screen, and it had 2 cartridge slots.
Oh, all right.
This is kind of like the first model of the PS3.
All right,
it's we've got 8 USB slots. Why? And then in 1998, this one came out.
Okay.
And this was kind of the sleeker one.
Right.
They advertised it as the Pocket Pro. It only took 2 AA batteries. And they called it a backlit screen, even though it was frontlit.
Yeah, we got to talk about that later.
Yes, we do. And it only had 1 cartridge slot.
Right.
Now, if you ever see these things for sale on eBay, I think the most common one that you find is called the Game.com Pocket, so not Pocket Pro. And this kind of has the iMac translucent, vibrant colors.
Okay, right, yeah.
And they came in 4 different colors. No backlit screen, again, or no frontlit screen. Translucent green, blue, pink, and purple.
All right.
Grand total, all of these Game.coms together, sold 300,000 units. And that was over the course of 3 years.
Including the original and these... Yeah. Wow.
From 1997 until it was canceled in 2000. I can't believe it took them that long to cancel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 300,000 units.
There's one other feature. It took me a while because I was wrong when I was here. The first time when I was first looking at it, there's a little port on the back here, and I opened it up and it's 9 pins. It looks like a serial port. So there must be some kind of adapter. Right. Well, actually, what I was looking up, it's a modem.
Yeah.
Your the goal with this is to be able to actually go online and maybe check your email, do text-only web browsing, and upload your high scores to the Game.com server.
Yep. Pretty revolutionary, actually.
Revolutionary, except for the fact that we're talking about 1998. This was a 14.4K modem, if I remember.
Yep.
And in 1998, pretty much everyone had a 56K modem on their computer at home. And this isn't wireless, this isn't portable. So if you want to use this to go on the internet, you need to be plugged into your wall with a modem that's 4 times slower than the one you probably have on your computer right across from you.
Right. So it makes itself obsolete.
Immediately. There's no purpose for it. Yeah. Just from top to bottom, it's full of half good ideas executed poorly.
And I think we need to put this in context as well. It was launched in September of 97 with the old version, but this one came out with the frontlit screen in September of 98. Now, the original Game Boy, which, in my opinion, is better than this in almost every regard.
No question.
Right?
No question at all.
It doesn't have the screen blurring. It doesn't have. I mean, it does have some screen blurring. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I mean, it's just the games. Everything seems better for the original Game Boy, and that came out July in '89, 8 years earlier.
Yeah.
And then the Game Boy Pocket came out in '96, still before this launched. So it was sleeker and slimmer. It was still the same idea. And then the Game Boy Color came out in November of '98, literally 2 months after this launched. After this version launched, and it was just like they were outclassed from the get-go.
Well, I'll forgive the ghosting and all that, but what every Game Boy has that this doesn't is actual animation. So some of you may remember like the original Tiger games, the LCD screens that were just like, if you looked at it, it was basically just all the different pixels or just different images that would get backlit to create the animation. One thing I was hoping when he handed this to me, I was like, well, maybe this is going to be like the hidden gem. This is just the product that came out too late, and just never had a chance. Yeah. Well, really what it is, it's the same style of animation, if you look at it. It's not like, a pixel animation or sprites animation. It's just a picture and a picture and a picture. Yeah. So one of the games you asked me to review was the Duke Nukem 3D. And I was like,
oh
okay.
God, how was that?
It was not 3D.
Yeah, it certainly was not.
The first thing, and this is going to be a common refrain, well, let's just say intuitive controls were not one of the guiding
certainly not.
Design principles here. So it took me a while, and I was in the middle of this when I sent you a text that you'll, basically, oh God, I hate you.
Yeah, I didn't think we were friends anymore. I'm so sorry for putting you through this.
Your first enemy, your first boss as Duke Nukem is the door. Because I'm like, all right, you just have this flash of an enemy, you shoot him, then you step forward, and like the whole room just kind of chunks forward a bit.
Oh my God.
And then you finally get to a door. And there is no button to open a door.
Come on. Don't tell me you had to tap the screen.
Nope, didn't have to tap the screen. Tried tapping the screen.
Okay.
I was like, okay, well, maybe this is, tap the screen. No, it was actually a button combo of hitting forward and your weapon button.
Wow.
So you actually didn't shoot the door. You had to hit the button and shoot the door. I'm a little embarrassed to tell you how long it took me to figure that combo out. But, finally I was able to defeat the first boss, the door. And
if we're going to talk about embarrassments while playing this, I spent a significant amount of time with Batman and Robin. I think they wanted to kind of make it based on the arcade game. It was really pretty bad, but I had a hard time making it past my first enemy, the character select screen, because it said, do you want to be Batman or Robin? Yeah. And it said select. And on the bottom, it looked like a D-pad with highlighted left or right buttons.
Okay.
I'm pushing left, I'm pushing right, nothing's happening.
Yeah.
And I thought, is this thing locked up? Like, is it frozen? And then the characters in the background were still animating. And I was like, what the fuck do I do?
Yeah.
So this game that uses 0 touch controls the entire game suddenly wanted me to touch which character I wanted to play as, and it was patiently waiting for me until I decided.
And can I say, I think that can be the tagline for the rest of the reviews and anything to do with this. What the fuck do I do?
Yeah.
It's really, I'll say like, so Resident Evil was one of the other ones you gave me.
Yep.
And I did not get past the first screen because it shows a start, loading screen, the little, pixel animation that's supposed to be our opening animatic.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, you're there's your character, and you get eaten by a zombie. Yes. Now, I know the Resident Evil games, that's kind of a thing. It's just like, you start off the bat and don't know what's happening, and you're dead. And you have to figure it out. The problem is you have no time to try and figure out the controls.
Oh, yeah.
Which would be fine if the controls were at all intuitive.
They're not.
No. To move, you have to use one of the angles on the D-pad to actually orient your character in space, and then based on where your character is facing, then you have to hit the correct side to make him go in that direction.
Which, in all fairness, is how all original Resident Evil games controlled. They all had the tank controls.
Okay, yeah.
But yes, this game doesn't give you a chance to figure out how to control it, and it's so laggy. It takes so long for your character to respond to what you're doing that it's totally unfair to even have a zombie on the first screen.
And it's right there next to your character.
Yep.
There's no time to just give me like one little room, one screen to figure it out, and then throw the stuff at me.
Yeah. Yeah, out of the games that you played, I think that's the only one I tried. I think that was the only game I had opened, even when I let you borrow it. And I had spent some time with it, and I mean, I probably only made it 3 or 4 screens past that. And they tried. The problem is they tried to basically port the PlayStation 1 game. You can't do that. You have to come up with a new game.
Absolutely.
Yes. So my first impressions when I turned this thing on was, why is you'll see the big button on the bottom that says light. Why is that optional? It just needs to be on all the time. Even in optimal sunlight, you need that light on constantly.
See, I disagree.
Okay.
Because the light makes so little difference that it's like my rig. I meant to send you a picture of this. My rig for playing this game was I have an LCD flashlight or LED flashlight. It's got like 16 things on it. I basically mounted that on my chest and laid down so I could play it like this.
Wow.
If I had a headlamp, I would have used that. I mean, just natural lighting, any other lighting in my house was just not enough. Maybe I'm old, maybe my eyes are dying, but the backlight was laughable.
And just for anyone who's watching out there who thinks that maybe we're out of our fucking minds, these are brand new systems.
Yes.
These are straight out of the box. The one I let you borrow had only probably been used for like a few hours ever. Brand new batteries, and then after when you were here, I was like, oh wait, I actually have another one in box, and I opened that one up fresh to be able to do this episode. So these are basically new consoles. These are not worn out, like the Game Boy screens, the original Game Boy. Yeah, you can't trust what you see now because most of them that you pick up have been used for 25 years.
And the other thing I will say too is what Brian is talking about, I'm sure it can't be that bad. And you're going to go on YouTube and you look up like video, footage of other things.
Also,
those are emulators.
Yep.
They're using emulators to get that footage.
As a matter of fact, the videos you're going to be seeing on the screen behind us are also going to be from an emulator because there's no way I can use a video camera to capture this footage. It's going to be all a big messy green blur.
Yeah, it's just wow.
Yeah. Really scary. Then the next thing I noticed after the light button was the button layout. The button layout is a pretty classic configuration. It's got the 4 face buttons, the D-pad, and a pause and menu button on off. Nothing crazy, but the four face buttons are they're oriented in a square instead of a diamond. So it's impossible to hit the button instinctually that you want to hit.
See, I can give that one a little bit of a pass because you know what, I could see like a game being designed with that sort of like So say they were in the diamond shape here. Well, maybe there's some kind of game where I'd want the person to be able to like hit both these at once, hit both these at once.
Okay.
Maybe. Experimenting with the button layout, I'm actually kind of okay with.
Okay.
If they did it because they thought it was a good idea. I think they did this just because, well, it's easier to draw a square and build it like that. There's nothing about this system that seems creative.
No.
I think, and seems to be like a creative choice. I think this was just because, well, that was just easier.
Yes.
So I could give it a pass if it was just a strange button layout, but it's not a design choice. It's just. I
mean, all I'll say is I didn't like it, and it didn't feel very intuitive. I mean, I guess if it was my only console, then and I had played it for a year straight and I played every single game, I'd probably get used to it pretty quickly. I think.
If this was your only console and you played it for a year straight, then you need to seek professional help,
or at least reconsider your hobby.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Because these are supposed to be fun, and I did not have much fun playing these games. So this also has a built-in phone book, calculator, calendar,
and solitaire.
Oh yeah. Now, solitaire didn't seem that bad.
I actually, you know what? Now that you mention, I skipped the solitaire.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a problem with solitaire even.
Okay.
You can't do draw 3 solitaire. You can only do the basic draw 1. And I was like, well, that's not how I play solitaire, and I don't think that's how most people do. So I was like, well, even your built-in game is lacking a very important function.
And here's the other thing: if you look up the reviews and the history of it, the original Game.com, it came with Lights Out.
Yes, it did.
Now, Lights Out is a fantastic game as a handheld game. I actually have a couple of them still at home. It's basically all these buttons you press and there's a certain pattern. the only decent thing associated with this console we didn't get in this one. It doesn't come with this one. That's like the standard for all the other Gamecoms except for this one here.
Sort of like the Tetris of Gamecom land.
Yeah, and I would actually think the way it's built and what it does, that would actually be a decent game. I think this could handle lights out.
Yeah.
Especially with a touchscreen, that would have been a killer app.
Yeah.
But again, that wasn't available for review on this product.
So I do want to talk about, I think the most interesting part about this console is the games that didn't come out.
Okay.
So I want to finish with that, but in the meantime, I kind of want to go through and talk about the games we did play.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So, would you care to start?
So I was given Jurassic World. I was given Duke Nukem 3D.
Okay.
Let's see, Jeopardy.
That sounds like a good one.
The Resident Evil 2, and what am I forgetting? There was one more. I'm gonna have to cheat.
We'll get to it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat. Did you
Mortal
say that?
Kombat. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's why I forgot that one. I'm trying to blank it from my mind. So I guess we'll go Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of fighting games in general because it's. I'm not going to say button mashing. I know it's offensive terminology, but it's just a level reflexes and all that. I'm not there's a cute like Tekken, things like that, classic ones.
Yeah.
Killer Instinct, I was the bomb on that.
Nice.
But one thing that's really important is for when you hit the button, for the thing you expect to happen
immediately.
at least immediately. Quarter of a second would be good. With this, it's just hit the button, and then it happens. And not only that, I don't know on your unit, but the D-pad on mine, there was a lot of confusion between when I hit the back button and the down button. I would hit the back button, and I don't know if there's a wiring issue or something, but the down action would be happening.
I found that exact same thing happening in Batman and Robin.
Really? Okay.
I was always crouching, and I was like, no, I just want to kick.
Yeah.
And yep.
So I can't even give the game a fair review because I don't know if it was potentially good because the buttons were so bad.
Yeah.
And then again, it's the same sort of graphics. It's not any kind of smooth animation or sprites. It's just you're here and now there's the kick.
Yeah.
Boom. So it was just I went through like the first couple guys and finally, yeah.
No, well, I was going to say you're. I think what we're kind of forgetting to mention is that, and which will become obvious very soon, is that I think Tiger really banked on having tons and tons of licensed games for their system. I think that's what they thought was going to sell this thing. And so Mortal Kombat Trilogy is really just a name, right? How many characters were really in that?
Was it 6?
6.
I think, yeah.
I mean, even if there were 8, it's like Mortal Kombat Trilogy.
No, Sub-Zero. No Sub-Zero. I don't think it was...
Come on.
No, Mortal Kombat game, no Sub-Zero.
I figured at least it would have the palette swap characters.
No. Well, how could you tell?
Right, exactly. Black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah, in all these games seem like to be in name only. Mortal Kombat Trilogy, the reason it was so amazing on PlayStation, Saturn, whatever, was because you could pick from like 30 characters.
Right.
All these Mortal Kombat characters finally all in the same place. How awesome is that? Then you get the Gamecom version, and it has fewer fighters than the original Mortal Kombat did. Not to mention 0 frames of animation.
Right, yeah, and I cannot stress that enough. We hear about all the different licensed games and all that, and again, I was trying so desperately to find something good in this. I wanted to be able to say, you know what, Brian, forget about the hate. This thing is just maybe it was a good idea at the wrong time.
Yeah.
It was just it was. I really think there was a meeting somewhere in Tiger that said this Game Boy thing is taking over.
Yeah.
We've been dominating the handheld electronic market forever. We got to get something out there. And they just pointed at the guys who had been making these LCD games for 10 years and said, do it.
Yeah.
But we don't know how. I don't care. Do it. And so they did maybe the best they could. But it's,
I'm just still baffled that it came out all these years after the original Game Boy and it failed in comparison.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I guess the best we could say is they didn't steal anything from Nintendo.
You're right. Definitely not the talent. So the first game I played was Sonic Jam, and just like Mortal Kombat Trilogy, it shouldn't have been called Sonic Jam. It should have been called Sonic something. But you start off and it says, now Sonic Jam on the Saturn is a compilation of all the Sonic games.
Right.
And you run around this amazing 3D world to be able to find hidden items and kind of like see almost like a Sonic museum, and then to go back and play the old 2D Sonic games. It was a nice kind of look in to see what like Sonic Extreme could have been on the Saturn, which never happened. And then you start this thing up on the Gamecom, and it's like, do you want to play Sonic 2, Sonic 3, or Sonic and Knuckles? And I was like, well, I want to play Sonic 1. And, well, that wasn't there.
I would actually give you one.
Then you pick the game you want to play, and it says, do you want to play as Sonic or Knuckles? Or maybe Tails as well.
Okay.
And then it drops you directly into the game. No startup screen, no level startup animation.
That sounds familiar.
The exact same music for all of the games. And it's bad music too. It was definitely not Sonic the Hedgehog music.
Oh yeah, we haven't even talked about the sound.
It's awful. Like, it is garbage.
You go to the grocery store. Go to the gift card aisle. Okay. Pick out one of the ones that has a little sound included, and open it up, and you hear like some Justin Bieber or like Happy Birthday.
Yeah.
That gift card now has better sound than this. Now, to be fair, this is 20 years later, and a lot has happened, but the ability to make decent sound came out. I mean, 8-bit sound is like not bad.
Nope.
The Game Boy, sure, it wasn't as good as what your TV could do at the time. Mm-hmm. This is, the sound is universally terrible.
The only exception I found to what you're talking about, all the games had awful sound, and especially awful music. Like, I can deal with like the really garbled, distorted, digitized voices.
Okay.
Because that's just what these things have.
Sure.
But the music is awful. In every single game, the music was bad. It's like they didn't have like any kind of music chip or something. But in Indy 500, the racing game,
okay, it
was kind of amazing.
Really?
Like, it had really amazing voices. It was like, get ready to race, and I was like, whoa, who said that? It's like it was, all the voices. There was a ton of voices leading up to the race. And they all were kind of good.
You'll have to play that for me later.
Yes.
I honestly have a hard time believing that.
That's fine.
I know he has no reason to lie, but I really... Wow.
Yeah. Going back to Sonic Jam, though, it was... it didn't control like a Sonic game. Like, if you jumped, you didn't have the same momentum.
Yeah.
If you did the spin dash, normally you'd hit down and then just jam on the button and then let him go, and he'd fly across the screen. It didn't control that way. You'd have to hit down, and if you hit the button once to start the spin dash, and if you hit the button again, he'd just take off. He'd go rolling. I was like, wait, that's not how this controls.
Okay.
I'm like, did you play a Sonic game before making this one?
No. The answer is no, clearly.
And the frame rate was probably like 4 frames a second, and for a Sonic game, that's unacceptable.
For any game.
For any game.
Yeah.
And then there was this horrible, of all of the games I played, I can't believe I started with this one because it was the worst for the motion blur, the ghosting. The only clear thing on the screen at any point was Sonic in the score. Everything else was a blur, including enemies. So you're running into enemies, and you're like, there was no chance in hell I was going to see that. Yeah, so that was the worst.
That reminds me of one of the games I reviewed, Jurassic World.
Ooh. Is it Jurassic World? Or The Lost World?
The Lost World,
yes.
Sorry, The Lost World. Yeah, they actually had a time machine. They spent all their money in the time machine to come to and license a game that wouldn't be out for... but yes, The Lost World. And... The one thing I can say about that is the whole not seeing the enemies. Mm-hmm. That was actually the design principle behind this game, because you start out driving a Jeep or a motorcycle depending on your choice. Again, this false choice that you get to choose whatever, but it doesn't really matter because whatever you choose, it's animated the same and it has the same actions.
Yep.
But you start out, okay, so I played these Tiger games before with a car. You hit this button, you drive to this side.
Yes.
You hit this button, you go over here.
Yep.
You hit this button, you go forward.
I remember pole position.
Yeah, it's exactly that.
Yep.
And you think, all right, again, I'm not trying to judge this by my standards of today. I'm trying to judge this when this came out when I was in high school. Mm-hmm. What would the high school me think? But here's the problem: you figure that out, then all of a sudden, you get hit from behind by a dinosaur.
Oh, come on!
And there's no way to see them coming.
No rearview mirror.
There's no rear. You're looking like a top down. I'm not going to give it the credit of calling it isometric because it is not.
Okay.
But it's sort of semi top down. And then your Jeep is near the bottom of the screen, and the dinosaur comes right up from behind.
No chance.
The closest you have to a warning is, like this audio thing. And next thing you know, it's the dinosaur's coming up. So you hear that and just guess on a direction. It might be right behind you, it might be next to you, it might be next to you. So you might be totally safe, hear that, and then jump into its path.
Is this entire game a driving game?
No. I actually somehow made it through that.
Congratulations.
And it turns into what could most charitably be called a platformer. And then, from what I can tell, alternates back and forth. But the platformer, again, comes with the same, the same issues we have.
Yeah.
You hit the buttons, either they don't do what you want them to do because it misreads the jump button or it misreads the directional, or it does it too late. So, we're walking along. I have my guy with my gun waiting for a dinosaur to come. Dinosaur comes. I see it. I go to jump over it. I hit the button, and then a quarter of a second later, I actually jump. But by that time, I've been hit and dead. So, it's again where most of these reviews are going to sound the same.
Yeah,
because most of the problems with all of them are the same.
It's totally true. It's absolutely true. Fighters Megamix was I think actually, let's be fair. Fighters Megamix, not horrible. I don't know how it was the smoothest animating of the games that I played. I think the music was awful. I wrote down very playable and really hard, unless you just spam the kick button. Apparently, the AI, if you can call it that, is unable to detect being cheap. If you're just going to stand there and keep hitting kick, then you're probably going to win. And it had these kind of quasi-faux 3D backgrounds. So when you're moving from left to right, the perspective of the background it would blink out and then blink in a new perspective to make it look 3D. And I was like, it was convincing if you weren't paying attention to it. But I even wrote down the last 3 words. Kinda liked it.
Wow.
Yeah, I was surprised.
All right, high praise. Fighters Megamix.
The deal was I started with Sonic Jam, and I was like, this is fucking awful. All these are going to be bad. And then I get some Fighters Megamix, which was sort of playable. Yeah. And I was like, Stockholm Syndrome. Right.
The one thing I was thinking as I was going through these, because kind of playable is huge, because I really, I'll get to the game later, but after a couple seconds of that game, if this was mine, it would have been thrown across the room. I mean, it's just, I've never seen a system more designed for controller chucking. But so kind of playable is that is like a 5-star, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, singing high praise for it, for sure. What else did you have? You had Mortal Kombat. You did
I did Mortal Kombat. We talked about Lost World. Resident Evil. We kind of covered already, but that was the controller chucking thing. Yeah. After probably 10 times going through that cycle of starting up. Okay, I just have it controlled, and now I'm dead. Yeah. I was kind of done. Moving on to Jeopardy.
How was that? Do you see this? These are the games that I feel like these would excel at. Yep. So how was your experience with Jeopardy?
I thought the same thing, because I had done the action games, we'll get to, I guess, Duke Nukem a little later, but Jeopardy was like the same thing. It's going to be a quiz game. It should, maybe multiple choice or something like that. So here's the problem with Jeopardy. You pick your question. Mm-hmm. You get your answer. You buzz in.
Is there any digitized voices from Alex Trebek?
There are digitized voices. Yeah. I can't say it was Alex Trebek, but it was welcome to Jeopardy, and
I'll take it.
And this is today's Daily Double. Okay. All right. You know what? I'm going to say the sound wasn't terrible for what it is.
Sure.
Nothing like your indie experience. But here's the problem. So you get the question. What is or this person was the the main character in this sitcom. Okay. And then you have 40 seconds to write an answer. Yep. Here's the problem. We've talked about the visual issues with the system. Yeah. Now, if we're looking at the screen here, this bottom probably half an inch is where an entire QWERTY keyboard is.
That really?
Yes. This bottom little bit here, they have the QWERTY keyboard.
Wow.
And so you can either use the buttons, and I think you can use the stylus, although I didn't have any luck with actually using the stylus, but from what I was looking at online, it's supposed to be a touch screen. You have 40 seconds to tab through this. Now, again, we talked about the issues with the buttons not responding, and the contrast issues. Yep. You can't see. Now, maybe, again, old guy here, maybe someone younger could see, but I could not see the difference between a letter that was selected and a letter that was not, unless the cursor was moving. Wow. So I'd have to move and see, okay, it's on the E, so E, T, R, W, Y. And you have 40 seconds to do that. Now, I will say, to its credit, it was very smart. If you misspelled the answer, or even like there was one point I knocked the microphone over like a true professional. There was one point where I had just hit space instead of a letter. I'm like, I'm going to get this wrong. It was smart enough to say, close enough.
Oh, good.
So it was good at that. And although you technically were supposed to fill in like Jeopardy, say, what is Pikachu? If you just said Pikachu, it would actually say, yeah, you got it right.
Not bad.
So I don't want to say AI, but it was very forgiving. I was almost that the game knew, it was like, yeah, we knew our UI is terrible, so we're going to give you a lot of leeway.
Nice.
If that issue was fixed, it would be a decent game.
Okay.
But because your only real interaction with the game is entering in letters, and that was so broken, I can't
recommend
it.
Well, I mean, I played Wheel of Fortune, and I figured this is going to be the game I'm going to enjoy the most. Right?
This sounds familiar, doesn't it?
How could this possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
And I will say, let's see. I spun the wheel, and the first thing that happened was I hit bankrupt. I was like, oh, well, at least I didn't have any money. Yeah. It's like I didn't lose anything.
Sure.
So. And then the AI went and spun the wheel and hit bankrupt. I was like, weird way to start my first game.
Okay.
I spun the wheel again, got 200, selected a letter, got something. I spun the wheel again, bankrupt. I was like, okay, this is fucked up. What's going on here? Like, is there like a pressure sensitivity or something to decide how fast to spin the wheel? Nothing. You hit the spin wheel button. Now, yeah, so that was weird. Weird. I'll forgive it because I played like almost a full game and it didn't happen again. But that was a really strange way to start. The touchscreen, which I totally forgot while I was playing. I was like, oh, there's a stylus in here somewhere. I was like fumbling around. I was like, where is it? And it's like, hidden in the back. And, whatever. It's convenient and it's okay. And but I had a similar problem selecting my letters. And they sound like they're a lot bigger than Jeopardy's letters.
Okay.
And I still had a pretty bad problem with it because sometimes you'd hit a letter and nothing would happen. And sometimes you'd hit a letter and like you'd hit two at once or something. And it was like, oh, this is really a pain.
Yeah.
And again, there was a time limit. And there's also a clear button to like fix a mistake. But when you hit the clear button, it clears
everything.
Yeah. And so that timer's ticking down. I never once solved a puzzle because every time I cleared, I only had like 5 more seconds to get the right number. Yeah. It was awful.
You should not punish the user for your UI mistakes.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I also played this game called Henry, which is apparently a memory game with sound. And I got to be honest. I couldn't get through a round of it. After 5 minutes, I was so annoyed I couldn't even keep playing. Knowing full well that I had to do this video, I still couldn't keep playing to have a proper opinion on it. It was awful.
Yeah, I think my last game, which I mentioned a little bit at the beginning, was Duke Nukem.
Yep.
And we talked about the evil boss of the Doors.
Yes. Fuck
but
you, Doors.
The other
Fuck
thing,
you.
yeah, seriously, it's like. It was so frustrating between like, am I just stupid or is this badly made? Turns out the answer was both, which is even worse. Well, I mean,
I'm gonna say it was badly made.
It's true.
We've all played enough first-person shooters.
I could have like tried it a couple times and said, you know what, I'm not getting this. Yeah. Maybe I'll call up Brian, because here was the other smart thing I did was I took just the cartridges, not the boxes or the manuals. Or I could have just gone on the internet and found an answer there. But
true, that was my bad though. I was. Yeah, because despite how uncollectible this stuff is, the boxes are like kind of flimsy cardboard, as you'd expect from a portable system in the day. But I bought them all brand new. They were all about $10 to $15 each, and despite the fact that no one wants them, I want to keep them all like pristine and stuff.
Well, here's the only thing I wanted to mention about the Duke Nukem. Duke Nukem 3D shooter. I'm not expecting Quake. I'm not expecting like Doom or anything like that on an LCD. I know it's going to be jerky, but there is no sense of perspective or depth at all.
Okay.
It's just a flat screen, and then you move to the next flat screen, except when you take a corner in the hallway. You're like, okay, this is interesting. So there's a corner, you hit the button, and then it's just an animation of click, 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 giving you a fake perspective of making a corner, and then you're in another hallway.
Is the entire thing just hallways?
It's hallways and then big empty rooms, but again, I don't know why it's not just hallways.
Right.
Because you have this big empty room, and all you can do is move to the side, to the side, to the side, to the side. but all the creatures or monsters or enemies that were in that room come to you anyways. So basically, you get into a room, you stand there, you hold your gun out, fire, fire, fire.
Yeah.
No one else is coming, and then you walk to the next door, which brings you to the next hallway, which has monsters. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Again, Duke Nukem games, we want a bunch of different weapons and they do something different.
Yeah.
There are not. I think there's a pistol, there's a shotgun, there's your foot, and I think maybe a knife. If there is a knife, I didn't get there. And the only difference is there are some enemies that the pistol will take 3 shots to kill, and the shotgun will only take 1 shot to kill.
Did you get any of those classic Duke Nukem one-liners?
You got the same one over and over again.
Oh, God.
It was...
Come get some.
Yeah, there was
that
Come
him?
Get Some. There was Damn, I'm Badass, or something like that.
Damn, I'm Badass.
Yeah.
I love it.
And, again, in that wonderfully tinny, awful... just...
So,
I would say the only people this system would be for, and I think you hinted to it, is like the collector who just has to have every game system ever.
Yeah.
That person will be very happy with this to put it up on the shelf.
Yeah.
We've talked before about how I had the Virtual Boy.
Oh, yeah.
I was one of the 12 people who bought it. In a game system that was notorious for giving people headaches and migraines, that never bothered me.
Oh, nice.
This, within moments of using it, just my eye is twitching, I'm getting a migraine, but I'm like, you know what? Brian asked me to guest on the hot podcast. I'm going to fight through it.
Well, thank you. You endured pain and suffering to be here today.
I survived the Virtual Boy with a smile on my face, and this thing broke me.
So, along with the system, there are 2 little manuals that look virtually identical. The first one is actually a instruction manual, and it walks you through and explains how everything works. Unnecessary. The other one is pretty awesome because it's full color. And it talks. It's almost just an advertisement to discuss the games that are available in the forthcoming games.
Oh,
now I'd like to go through this.
Okay.
Because starting off, it's got the Tiger Weblink.
Weblink, yes.
Yep.
That's.
It's got Resident Evil 2, but strangely, it also has Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Right?
What?
Right. Now, there is no way to ruin Castlevania Symphony of the Night because it's one of the greatest games ever made.
I will agree with that.
Unless you put it on the GameCom. And you see the one image there. It's just this. Yep. It's like, looks highly detailed and it's like all this different stuff going on, but
it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
That is not going to.
That game was canceled.
Not possible with the system. No, you know what? It might be possible with this.
Yeah.
But the people who are working on this were not capable of bringing that out.
I think that there's no way this game's scrolled, if it exists at all. If there's, I'm going to look up online and maybe we can get some footage for like the prototype or something.
Yeah.
But I bet it didn't scroll. I bet it was single screens, and that's why the background could be a little bit detailed. Mm-hmm. I'm curious. There's even a picture of the cartridge. Like that'd be photoshopped.
Yeah.
But I'm curious because I just don't know why Konami would give up the rights to that.
Or maybe what could have been. Maybe that was no.
I'm sorry. Right. I mean, if this thing had any potential, it was certainly never realized.
Yeah.
Sonic Jam and Duke Nukem 3D. We understand that. Williams Arcade Classics. I actually played this. I forgot to mention it, but
okay.
But it's just some old classic games: Joust, Defender 1 and 2, Sinistar, which I had never played as a kid, so I didn't know how to play it. But Joust was also on there.
Was it?
It was fine.
Really?
It was fine. Like they controlled okay.
Okay.
And they were playable. They weren't really any fun.
See, I think if they had done that kind of game, your classic arcade game, the single screen,
yep.
Your
wouldn't have had any problem with the ghosting.
And then that would have been okay. And that's we would have expected that and gotten decent. But trying to reach and trying to make this it's just not.
Resident Evil 2 and Duke Nukem 3D do not belong on the system.
No.
NBA Live 99 never came out. There's an image of basketball people playing basketball. Mm-hmm. Basketball people. Yeah, was that racist? Madden Football 99 also never came out.
Eli Whitney, what?
It's still not racist. Just because I don't know what I'm talking about doesn't make it racist. I wish... I do like boxing games. I wish Holyfield Boxing had come out. Because, look at it. It looks like almost like a... It could not be a great Punch-Out clone, but...
Look at that arm. That is not coming off of a human being. That is coming off of some evil crab monster.
It doesn't matter though. It's like to be like, okay, left punch, right punch. I don't care if it's exaggerated.
Yeah, I guess you could.
I wonder.
Could work.
I wonder if it could be any good. We got a couple more here.
You're just more optimistic than I ever thought you would be.
Right? Yeah. Well, you have to hang out with me at work. These are Mortal Kombat Trilogy, and then Small Soldiers. Now, if I'm right, and I might be, I think Small Soldiers was actually done before they pulled the plug on it.
Really? Oh, the game. The
I
game.
think so.
Okay.
I think so. I think they realized that the game wasn't going to sell, and they pulled the plug after it was done.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'll do some research, but I feel like this is actually available somewhere, maybe to download for an emulator.
Wow.
Yeah. The Lost World, Batman and Robin, Jeopardy,
and
Monopoly, which Monopoly did come out for it.
Okay.
Wheel of Fortune 1 and 2, strangely enough, they both came out.
They had a sequel?
They did have a sequel.
They had, you know what? This is our bestseller. We need to get this on the market now.
Right?
Wow.
And then this one's curious, especially with all of our conversations about how bad the music chip is.
You kidding me?
This one's called Name That Tune. And let's see. How long does it take to name that tune? An all-new set of top 40 and country western songs will challenge and entertain. For 1 to 2 players. Recommended for all ages.
The word hubris comes to mind.
Yeah, I'm very
wait,
confused.
Oh, sorry. Are you still...
Oh, I mean, we don't have to hang out on Name That Tune at all.
I need to see this next thing, because that's...
Yes, that another canceled game. Gigapets Deluxe.
So is that like a Tagamochi cash-in, or...?
Well, yeah, Gigapets was actually... I had a Gigapet when I was a kid. Instead of and it was like it was actually slightly better than Tamagotchi at the time.
Tamagotchi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Tamagotchi, I think.
Whatever.
The long vowel at the end.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I don't judge. Yeah, Gigapets were actually decent. I wonder if this could have been a good game. You know, like raise your virtual pet.
Again, that would be a thing where this just kind of LCD-ish, you know, design would work.
The touchscreen even would have worked too.
Right.
You know, drag some food over for your clean up the poop.
And the thing is, like, with there was a planner, there was a phone book. This was trying to cash in on the PDA thing too. Yeah. That kind of thing could work, because I'm old enough to remember having a Palm Pilot and only having like a couple games that were similar to this kind of thing. You know, if they had gone after that, it might have been, you know, workable. But,
it had potential.
Yeah,
I guess. Here's the Lights Out that you were talking about with Tiger Casino. I have Tiger Casino. I didn't even bother opening the package because I couldn't even deal. Yeah. Henry, that I told you was awful, and then the internet. I think that's it. Yeah, some accessories. Now, just to wrap this all up, there's something that the most innovative thing about the Gamecom beat the 360 by a fucking decade. You know what it is? On the main menu, when you start this thing up, there's a place, one of the icons says high scores.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's almost, it shows you every game that you've played and all the high scores that you've achieved in those games. So for the system itself to recognize these are the games you played and these are your high scores, it felt to me like an achievement system.
Okay.
A very bare bones.
And you could upload your high scores to...
You could.
Yes.
You could.
And so you could have a worldwide leader in these god-awful games.
Yeah. I thought that was maybe the coolest part of this entire console.
That's giving it a lot of credit, though, for...
Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. No, they were there. You're right. They were there because no one else was doing that.
Yeah.
So, all right.
All right.
So the one shining is a high score system that lets you post your... But
yeah, what a fucking...
If I never see another one of these again, I'll be a very happy man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So collectors, gotta have them all, kind of guys. This is your device. And what would this was this new on eBay? How much?
Oh, I think brand new in the package. It was like $60. That was a couple years ago.
Okay, so $60 to be able to tell this story of this awful game system. Yeah. That's not bad.
Yeah,
that's not bad to have that. What is that thing? And to have a couple minutes talking about how terrible.
Yeah.
But other than that, if you're like retro gamer wanting to catch up on the games that you missed, don't forget it. Yeah. It's not worth it.
It really isn't. There's nothing. If anything sounded halfway interesting that we talked about, then we screwed up.
Then yes, we were. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like, okay, I gotta, because there's movies that like Troll 2. You want to go watch Troll 2 because it's such a bad movie that it's good to watch. This is not that.
No.
If you ever heard, what's the Flophouse, podcast? They rate their movies. Was this a good bad movie, a bad movie, or a movie we kind of liked? Right. This is not a good bad game.
No.
This is a bad. If you play this and you enjoy it, you should feel bad about yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're wrong.
Because you're wrong.
Yes, and he says it's not our place to judge this. I am judging. I am judging this. I am judging you if you enjoy this. Yeah.
That's a good place to end.
Okay.
with a lot of judgment.
Yes, judgment and hatred.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, dude. Thank you so much for filling in
pleasure.
this week and playing this god-awful system.
Sure.
Thanks. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, for Gaming Without Parole, I'm Bryan Paul.
And for Dezrah.com, I'm Dezrah.
Yeah, go to Dezrah.com.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
You want to plug anything?
Well, if anyone out there, I'm a professional magician on the side and a fencing instructor, but those are both very local things. So if you happen to be in New England, check me out. If not,
We've got a couple Worcester watchers.
Yeah. All right. Wonderful.
We'll see what happens.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
We'll see you next week.